Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm just going to talk about a couple of big events that happened while we were kids back in the 70s and 80s. I honestly don't remember the exact years these things took place, but I'm going to talk about how they happened and how I remember them and the feelings that they evoked and just kind of the experience of living through them. And the first one I'll talk about is Princess Diana. When she first got married to Prince Charles and became a princess, that was like a huge thing all the way around the world because, well, for at least for girls and women, because that's the dream. All young girls at the time, they dreamed of being princesses, and we had the Disney movies about princesses. It was a really huge thing to see just a normal girl, a normal young woman become a princess, live out that dream. And I never really did understand it. I understood the whole princess thing. I had two sisters and they wanted to be princesses and they loved princesses. And so I understood all that. I got that. I just didn't understand everybody's love affair with Diana as a young boy, as a young man. You know what I mean? I never got that part of it, but it was a huge cultural event, and her life she was a phenomenon. She was everywhere, and she had to be the most famous person in the world, I would say, on the cover of magazines constantly. And from what I know of her, she was just a good person, all around amazing person, from what I understand, from what I know. Now, I haven't done a lot of research into her, never heard much criticism about Princess Diana in my entire life. I mean, I'm sure nobody's perfect, but she was a genuinely good person, I believe. And her entire life was literally a cultural event from that point on, from the time she got married until her death. Her entire life was meaningful and impactful around the world. It was insane. There's been no one ever to be that globally famous. I mean, now in the days of the internet where it's so easy to get that famous, maybe someone might be on par, but if you take that person now and take them back to the 80s, they couldn't compare with Diana's fame. And if you brought Diana up to today's time at her age and with all the social media and everything, she would have more followers than all of these other people combined. She was a phenomenon. It was crazy. She was like Michael Jackson and Prince rolled together into one. So, yeah. And her death hit the entire world, even us dudes. We were affected by it in one way or another because everyone was sad. I mean, everyone was sad. So you couldn't even, you know, even if you didn't care about it too much, you knew several people who were who were completely devastated by her death. So everybody was touched by it in one way or another. And the other event I would like to talk about is the Iranian hostages and when they were released. Now, when I remember it happening, and it was a big buildup to the release of the Iranian hostages, and all over the news they kept playing that song, "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree." They'd play that song, and everybody all across the nation had tied yellow ribbons around around stuff, street lights, their homes, their cars. Yellow ribbons were everywhere. That was like the big thing, yellow ribbons, welcoming the hostages home. And that was a really huge event. I mean, that touched everyone. Not in the same way or length of time that Diana's marriage and life did, but still, it was huge at the time. I remember this story about because Iran had hostages from a lot of different countries. And I don't know whether this story is true or not. I tend to believe it, but still, I am skeptical about the story. But the story was that Iran did the same thing to Russia. They had Russian hostages, and Russia had Iranian prisoners in their, custody. So Iran told Russia, return our prisoners to us and we'll release the Russian hostages. Well, Russia sent Iran their prisoners' heads, the Iranian prisoners' heads in boxes, and told them, release our people now or we're coming over there. This Russia is the mess around and find out country. And I've been taught my whole life that, Russia's the bad guy and all and whatnot. And I'm on the fence about that now. I don't know how evil Russia is. I don't know how good they are. I'm not pro Russia or anti Russia. Not any of that crap. But at least now I've got more of an open mind toward them a little bit. Here in the last 10 years probably, I've learned more about Russia and what they're doing, and so I have a little bit more of an open mind when I think about Russia. And I think about that, and if I was a hostage, how would I want my country to react? Would I want them to let me languish in, some kind of cell or whatever for a year while they debate and negotiate with Iran, or would I want the Russian response? Release our people now. If Jesse's not free by this time tomorrow, you will, we're going to turn Iran into a sheet of glass. So you don't want to push this any further than you already have. You've already crossed the line. Send Jesse home now. I mean, put yourself in that position. Which response would you want from your country? So, yeah. And I heard that story years and years ago, but it always stuck in my head about Russia and the way they handled that compared to the way America handled it. I mean, they were both released, but America, it took however many, I don't know how long the Iranian hostages were held, months or a year, whatever, I don't know. But it took a lot longer for America to get their hostages back than it did Russia. And that was just a couple of highlights of my youth, big major events that happened and kind of shaped our culture and gave us some real vivid memories, long lasting memories from our childhood that I wanted to talk about. And I'll leave you there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking on the super thanks button down below, or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and support the channel there. I'll put that link down in the description. We also have some cool Gen X gear over at Redbubble. If you're interested in that, I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you don't want to or can't support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot, and thank you for those of you who have done that. I really appreciate it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments below, or you can email me. The email address is over on the channel page. I really enjoy doing those user-inspired episodes of Gen X Thinks. I appreciate you for your submissions. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.